Hey guys, how's it going? And welcome to the showdown between the Warriors of Chaos, led by Kolek Suneater, and the Greenskins, who are going to be led by the Baconator. So without further ado, let's jump right into this match and have some fun. So up here in the skirmish area, I do have three groups of the Marauder Horsemasters, and they definitely hit very hard against the Greenskins. They have 37 missile damage, relatively low armor piercing values when you compare them to like throwing axes, but against Greenskins, using them as a counter skirmishing tool and anti-troll tool, they do a pretty good job. So 37 missile damage against, the low armor of 25 on the Wolf Riders. Forest Goblin Spider Riders do have 45, and I think Trolls also have something in the 40s. So definitely a lot of good candidates for these bad boys. And whenever I play Greenskins against the Warriors of Chaos, I really like to use Morgub's Manging Marauders. I like to use Death's Creepers. Just for battlefield control and just to poke down Kolek. You can usually get, at least 400, 500, 600 damage off Kolek before the fighting starts with those bad boys. But that's one of the reasons I like to bring the Marauder Horsemasters. I don't like to deal with that. I want to have relative dominance in terms of the mobility fight, or at least be able to put up a fight. So these guys can harass, they can deal with the trolls, of course, lightly armored big targets. They're also very good against Orc Boar Boys and pretty much any of the Orc riding Greenskins here. So yeah, these bad boys do have shields, but again, only 50 armor, so some really good concentrated fire from the Marauder Horsemasters can definitely just pay huge dividends. So we have three of those bad boys for our infantry, a little bit light in the front line. We just have some Chaos Marauders. We're going to be supported by some aspiring champs. So these guys basically just there to take the initial brunt of the wall and then allow the Chosen to do the cleanup duty. So we do have two groups of Chosen with great weapons in the back here. Definitely looking pretty gangster. And Chosen, if I'm not mistaken, they beat Black Orcs pretty Black Orcs can bring them down to like 30 or 40%, but even Black Orcs who do have the effects of the Wa, the Chosen will still win that fight. So they usually pay for themselves. Granted, the Greenskins can bring Azag and bring Fate of Buna, which is very punishing, but it looks like he did bring the Baconator, which I still think is the most competitive pick. We got Kolek. Kolek's always a force of nature. Greenskins have good, good methods of dealing with him. They can use Effigy, the Rusty Arrows, focus him down, pin him down with Orc Boars and Trolls and things like that. But he's still just such a terror. I mean, he can really do a number on Black Orcs. He can take out Greenskin Lords. He's just a monster. Kolek, probably one of my favorite lords in the game. Up here in the sky, this is something I've been using quite a bit in a bunch of different matchups, the Exalted Hero. So he causes fear and terror. He's really good at sniping out Greenskin casters. So if they have Goblin Big Bosses or, Night Goblin Shamans or even like a lord like Wurzog, the Exalted Hero can do a ton of damage. I mean, they have pretty good combat stats, charge bonus of 55, and terror is always very good against Greenskins. Over here we have some Chaos Warhounds, and that is pretty much it for our army. For my opponent, he's got a pretty nice little skirmish core here, some Goblin Wolf Rider Archers, taking a bit of fire here from my Marauder Horsemasters. I'll definitely get the upper hand on that exchange, just because Marauder Horsemasters are basically just on another tier in terms of harass units. In the back, he does have some Forest Goblin Spider Riders, so pretty good anti-skirmishing tools here. He could definitely use those guys to chase down my Horsemasters, but I do have three, so I could potentially overwhelm him. In the front line, he's got some Night Goblins. These guys are going to be taking the brunt, so somewhat of a similar strategy. He's going to be engaging my Marauders with his Night Goblins, and then following up with a very heavy core of Black Orcs. So 3 Black Orcs coming out of the forest here. And he's got Foot of Gork, looks like Ere We Go, Fist of Gork, and then Gaze of Mork. So bringing some, he doesn't have all the spells, but he certainly has a couple of them, quite a few there. And he does have 2 of the Night Goblin Shamans, so this is pretty cool. He has the Wand of Jet on both of these guys, so they're basically like the Undead Necromancer mana batteries. These guys, I mean, the Wand of Jet has a pretty substantial penalty. It adds 30 seconds, but if he's just using these simply to just, get Winds of Magic, I mean, I think they only cost like 300 or 400. 300 or 400, and they're pretty, I mean, they're okay in combat. They can definitely fight against Marauders. Yeah, they have 280 weapons rank. In the back, he has a couple Trolls and 1 group of Orc Boar Boys. And that's pretty much it, guys. So without further ado, let's see how this show unfolds here. So in the initial harassment, Marauder Horsemasters getting some really good shots here on the Goblin Wolf Riders, and just look at the damage these Marauder Horsemasters do with their javelins. Gonna get another volley here from all 3, shooting at this 1 group of Goblin Wolf Riders. Coming in with Kolek, whenever you're harassing your opponent, you want to be having as many annoying things happening at once. So Kolek's gonna be dropping Lord of the Storm, roasting some of these goblins here. So we get a nice one right in the middle of the Rusty Arrows. Arguably, it might have been better to go after some Black Orcs back here, but they were moving, and I didn't want to have to kind of calculate where they were going to move, and I figured the Rusty Arrows were going to be a pretty good target for that. So I get that nice shot right there, and you can see some of the goblins shooting at Kolek. Again, they don't have the best armor-piercing values, but they still do a little bit of damage, it looks like. It doesn't look like they've been able to hit him terribly well. Marauder Horsemasters are going to be kind of circling around the flank. I saw a lot of good targets. I was like, there's Orc Boars here, there's Goblin Wolf Riders, so I'm just going to pressure this flank and see if I can get some pretty good value. So I didn't know that he had these Night Goblins until I think it was just now I saw them, because they do, of course, have stock. So that's going to kind of force me back a little bit. The rest of my army is going to be taking the position on the hill. I didn't want to fight too close to the forest because I didn't know if he had any like shenanigans or anything hidden in there. So I take the hill, and then I'm going to engage him square on right here. So this was a very greedy play. I go in with my Chaos Sorcerer with the Lord Metal. I'm like, I'm going to overcast the Final Transmutation. I saw Wurzog was on top of Black Orcs. He was on top of Trolls. I could have waited, but I felt like that was a huge opportunity to get like 3 or 4 high value units. So you can see we start melting the trolls. Warzog takes a ton of damage. And just since my caster is being compromised and, he gets hit with effigy and the nasty skulkers are able to get on him as well, I decided to jump in the back with my exalted hero. Now, this is kind of what I wanted. I wanted to pull in the orc boars here, potentially get a terror route, and then overwhelm the flank with my marauder horsemasters, and then just basically use these orc boars as pin cushions with my marauder horsemasters in the back here. The exalted hero is pretty tanky. I mean, he does have 80 armor, relatively low melee defense, but still doing quite a number on these guys, considering he's done some damage to the orc boars and some of the leadership here. And you can see the marauder horsemasters just absolutely annihilate those trolls. They just put them down. Now Big Daddy Kolek and the Marauders are going to be engaging in the front line, but my opponent, very well played here, was able to catch my caster and probably will be chasing him off the battlefield. So the first engagement's underway. You can see the Night Goblins are going to be fighting against Marauders. The Aspiring Champions are going to be running in as well with their encouragement, some of their badass splash attacks. So they have some of the cooler attack animations for sure. So you can see the Aspiring Champions, nice splash attacks coming in there, doing some work, and now the Chosen are going to be following up. So the back is really kind of the more crucial part of the battle though, so I'm able to break off the trolls with the Marauder Horsemasters. I was also able to lance down the Orc Boars, and then they just got terrified when they got low. So suddenly the Greenskins, who did have an advantage in the back line against my Exalted Hero, were looking a little bit compromised. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to pull out this Forest Goblin Spider Rider, which is doing pretty well in its own right here, absorbing the ammo. I'm going to engage head on with 2 groups and flank up and around with 1. 2 Marauder Horsemasters should be able to pound those Goblin Riders out. So the Exalted Hero continuing to fight the Goblins here, and it looks like these are not the Night Goblin Shamans, so not the best combatants here. Still doing a little bit of work against the Exalted Hero, and he does have some reinforcements coming back. The trolls and everything could potentially be pushing back in. In the front, the Chosen have engaged, so the Chosen are going to be fighting against the Goblins and just cleaving through these guys. But there is a little bit of an opportunity for Foot of Gork here. I'm a little bit bunched up, so he could get like a Foot of Gork on top of my Chosen or something else. Kolek has been targeting the Black Orcs. Definitely don't want to be wasting his heavy armor piercing against like Goblins and things like that. And it's kind of nice having him in the front line because he does have that perpetual terror route threat. So over here, the Baconator does get a little bit compromised. I get some Hounds in there, but unfortunately they're broken off. He does have some Black Orc support. So I get in there with Kolek. I do use the Star Crusher. I'm trying to get him, but he's pretty slippery on that hog right there. So he's able to get away pretty well. In the back, the Exalted Hero is still doing a pretty good job just working down the Trolls, working on the Night Goblin Shamans. So getting rid of my opponent's mana batteries. And over here, the Marauder Horsemasters were able to just absolutely massacre those Goblins, which I was pretty surprised about how quickly they killed those Night Goblin Spider Riders there. Or Forest Goblin Spider Riders, my apologies. The Marauder Horsemasters are going to be scooting forward, continuing to harass the Trolls, going to be poking down the Orc Boars, and also counter-skirmishing some of the remaining Goblin Wolf Riders. The main fight, a huge Foot of Gork going down, so check out the health. The Chosen are pretty healthy here, but that Foot of Gork was pretty much a direct hit, so very well played to my opponent. Definitely decimates my formation, doing quite a bit of work against some Marauders, and my Aspiring Champs didn't take too much because they're very low model count. But the Chosen certainly took a lot of HP damage, but they're one of the more resolute Grey Open infantry in the game. They're going to be pushing forward and just grinding it out against these Black Orcs, definitely doing a very, very good job. In the meantime, Kolek's done pretty good disruption here in the back line. Some of the Orc Boars trying to come in with their mass and pin him down, but they're probably just going to terror out within a matter of seconds. The Marauder Horsemasters still just pressuring the flanks, running a little bit low on ammo, but certainly going to be plenty of jobs for them once they run out of ammo. The Chaos Warhounds, I do decide to charge into the Rusty Airs, but my opponent does countercharge me with his Goblin Wolf Riders, giving some support to these bad boys. They might be able to fend off the Hounds. It's certainly going to be tough because my big pressuring force over here is going to be led by the Exalted Hero, who actually punted that Night Goblin Shaman, who was, I believe, going to use the Goblin Missile attack. What is it? Gaze of something? Gaze of Malice? I forget what it's called. We'll check before the battle's over, hopefully. Anyways, Marauder Horsemaster circling around the backs, and I've kind of contained the back line. I've chased off a lot of the Trolls and Goblins and some of his leadership. I think Warzog is going to be hiding over in the forest. I kind of smell blood in the water. The Baconator isn't the fastest. I mean, Spleen Ripa, his hog, only has 62 speed, so I should be able to hunt him down with the Marauder Horsemasters, who also will hit very hard against his 55 armor. And the Exalted Hero just serving a ton of purpose this game. I mean, he's mucked up the Greenskins. He's constantly caused terror. He's given me a lot of punch against some of their heroic units. We're basically just trying to corral in the Bacon right now. So we're going to be taking that Big Mac down, hopefully. In the main fight here, Kolek definitely lending a lot of much needed support to the front line because he did have 3 Black Orcs. My 2 Chosen maybe could have dealt with him, but again, I really needed Kolek in the front line just to be smashing these guys. And you can see he's dropping some heavy hammers here on the Black Orcs, which I'm quite happy about. Aspiring Champions still fighting, also providing that encouragement to my main force. But this is really going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back. In the forest, the Aspiring Champions, as well as the Marauder Horsemasters, with that charge bonus of 30, are able to catch the Baconator. So he's very, very low right now, 398 HP. Probably not going to be able to get away. And from here, it's looking pretty rough for the Greenskins. Lord of the Storm going down on those Black Orcs who are fighting tooth and nail. Definitely going to give some mad respect to those Black Orcs. 110 kills on those bad boys. The other Black Orcs have 72, so definitely paid for themselves very well. But the Chosen also did well. 84 kills on these ones, and the other Chosen do have 126. So cleaving through Goblins and Black Orcs, and pretty much everything they can see. That's a pretty cool looking armored formation, just seeing the Expiring Champs standing shoulder to shoulder with the Chosen. And they're quite a bit bigger than Chosen, actually. Although that kind of makes sense. I suppose individually they're very, very powerful. So they're able to break the Black Orcs right there. Kolek's able to hammer a couple of them in the back. And that's going to be all she wrote for the Greenskins. So Marauder Horsemaster is probably one of the more effective elements in the game. They are able to just punish the trolls, counter skirmish the Greenskins, circle around the back line, disrupt the archers, just all kinds of value from them. And ultimately, they were the ones that hunted down Wurzog and were able to kill him. I mean, I think the Marauder Horsemasters are one of those really underrated units on the Chaos roster. I mean, if you guys have been watching the Flash tournaments we've been having on Sunday, Marauder Horsemasters and Chaos Harass units in general, just the Marauder Throwing Axes or even standard Marauder Horsemen, have been making a lot of good representation in those games with very high-level players, and they definitely do very good. I think having the Chosen was very essential, because if I had just gone with like a ton of Marauders and low-tier infantry, I think I would have had trouble dealing with the Black Orcs. Granted, I think that Kolek really gave me a lot of stopping power, and as long as he's supported, has like Marauders or Chaff under him, he's going to be able to make quick work of Black Orcs. Lord of the Storm, also a very, very good ability there. So yeah, I like the army quite a bit. It was definitely good. I like this Exalted Hero. A little bit risky because it is a big target that can be isolated. He didn't have like the heaviest firing line. I definitely would have liked to have seen a couple more, archers to kind of work with that FG of the Git. I don't know how I feel about trolls in this matchup. I guess it makes sense because Chaos doesn't have the best range tools, but every time I see trolls in this matchup, they kind of just underperform. I mean, maybe even just getting another like Black Orc and then a couple more of the nasty Skulkers and archers in the back line, I think that would have been more powerful, because then I come back there to harass, he smoke bombs me, he shoots me down with the crossfire from the archers. I think that's a little bit tougher to deal with than Chaos Trolls, who can simply just be focused down with the Marauder Horsemasters. But aside from that, I like the build. I thought this was really creative. The Night Goblin Shaman with the wand of the jet battery. Something I haven't seen before, so definitely something I got to think about for my builds, because it's so cheap and it's so effective with the vampire counts. Why not try it with the Greenskins too? Baconator, I think he's going to be one of the most competitive picks. Although arguably, Azag might be a better pick here, simply because Fate Abuna is so good against Chaos Knights and Chosen and Chaos Warriors and things like that. But I still think Azag with the Bonewood Staff and FG of the Gate is going to be the most competitive pick. Granted, he's very susceptible to getting sniped out, so there's some give and take there. So very well played to my opponent, Vicious Atsuma. Look forward to running into you again on ladder, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this Warriors of Chaos match. Have an excellent night, guys, and take care.